So we continue with the men's race, the binche Memorial. Frank van der Broeke, stay with us because we're continuing straight away. This is the Palmares. Last year, Christophe Laporte won ahead of Rasmus Tiller, Hugo Page. The year before, Denny van Poppel, another second place for Rasmus Tiller. Van Asbroek, Van Poppel, De Buis, De Maar, Sinkeldam, Stibar, Reinhard Janssen van Rensburg, and Adam Blythe as a former winner as well. Here is the team presentation. Man with mustache is there as he always is. But it's all about this guy. It's about Rasmus Tiller. This is Giacomo Nisolo. Dries van Gestel on the team. Matteo Trentin, of course. Here is our fresh European gravel champion, Jasper Stuyven. And with luscious hair, that's really luscious hair, by Quinn Simmons. But we're looking out for Jasper Stuyven. Finally, that first win since Milan-San Remo. Can he add one more, Jasper Stuyven? We're looking at the team of Groupama FDG with Sam Watson, who had a fantastic European Championships. Intermarché is the local team. They're here with Binyam Gremai and Hugo Page, who was third last year. Arnaud Delis is going to try and win this race on two legs today. These images went absolutely viral. How he managed to win the Femmes Classique last Sunday on one leg. If you haven't seen it, by one reason or the other, just look it up. Here we are with the Abbé de la Bonne Espérance and our Palmares of binche. Christophe Laporte, he won last year ahead of Rasmus Tiller and Hugo Page. Van Poppel, Van Asbroek, De Buis, De Maar, Sinkeldam, Stibar, Janssen van Rensburg, and our colleague Adam Blythe are also on the Palmares. These are the guys on the podium. As ever, with mustache is Erik Reesel, but we're looking out for this man. It's Tiller time today after 2 silver medals. Who knows? It might happen for Rasmus. Total Energie with Dries van Gestel. This is Matteo Trentin of the UAE team, Emirates team. Our newly crowned European gravel champion Jasper Stuyven, Tom Squinch, and with luscious manes, Quinn Simmons. That is more volume than I have in my hair. I'm quite jealous of that. But
I think we can all be jealous of that.
That was seriously impressive hair by Quinn Simmons. Hugo Hofstetter there with his tattoos. The Groupama FDG team with Sam Watson on the team, who had a fantastic European Championships. This is Hugo Page. He was third last year. Standing next to him, of course, Binyam Gremai of the Intermarché team. They have a home race here. This is Arnaud Delis, quickly growing into a fan favourite, not only in Belgium, but all around the world. And if you haven't seen the clip of his finish of that race on Sunday, go look it up on our digital channels. But I think everybody by now has seen how Arnaud Delis won a bike race on one leg. Greg van Avermaet, yeah, one of his last races, he said in the media today. It doesn't really sink in all that much, but Sunday is going to be the end of his career. Greg van Avermaet, one of the best classics riders of his career, although the Palmares, he would have liked to win a little bit more, I think, but that Olympic title will go down in history. Dries Devenijns, Fabio Jacobsen in his last race in the colours of Soudal Quickstep. He's moving over to DSM next year. Yves Lampaert, Michael Morkov standing next to him. Yeah, some really big teams here on the start line with, like I said, Greg van Avermaet, Arnaud Delis. Arnaud Delis at the start of his career, he's only 21, but he's got quite an impressive Palmares. And Greg van Avermaet at the end of his career, he's going to retire after Sunday. Yeah, we've got quite a few World Tour teams on the start line here in binche. Exactly the same course as we had last year, up until the final 100 meters. The same, and the flag drops. Yeah, these are the images that we've seen before in the women's race, where I thought, well, since when does the women's race, does the women's peloton have leopard cycling in it? but those were images that were slightly confusing. Today we go from Binche to Chimay and back to Binche, and halfway in Binche, in Chimay, there is a price au nature, as the French say. So in recent years, it was basically your body weight in beer. Yeah, that would be good news for Rasmus Till. Anyways, we start in Binche, make our way down to the south. There it is, Chimay. And then we go all the way to the French border. And then our final local laps that we are going to do 4 times. And we enter the local circuit at 80k to go. So we're in Chimay pretty soon. And then, of course, back to Binche for our local laps of 16.2 kilometers with that cobbled climb in the finale that will decide things. We desperately try to find information on the situation in the race, and we didn't manage to find it. So now we're just going to write down the breakaway really fast. Hannah, this is Dries de Bond. That's a given. The man of Alpecin de Koning. We have Ryan Gibbons there. We have Unai Cuadrado in that group. Nick van der Leijken, his last race as well as a professional. So these are our 4 riders. Yeah, you must remember we just come off the women's race. We got 0 information, so we're just scribbling down our breakaway as I'm talking. And my name is José Bain. With me is Hannah Walker. Hannah, a breakaway of 4. We just entered, or we're just about to enter, our local circuit. There we've got that 16.2 kilometer loop. For those of you who haven't watched the women's race, what kind of lap is it?
For this lap, for the riders, as you just mentioned, 16.2 kilometers long. A lap of 2 parts, because you've got the crosswind that can really do the damage and wreak havoc with the peloton in here, but it also becomes very narrow, Jose. So that's where, that fight for position will start to occur. On the final kilometer, you make that left-hand turn into the final K. You're onto the cobbles that rise to the finish line for around 300 meters before taking that right-hand turn, and then you're onto the plateau. But for the riders, having gone from Binche all the way down to Chimay, the wind onto the right-hand shoulder of the riders all the way down, they went through that intermediate sprint that they had. That's been and gone, and then they've made their way north. And when you take a look at the route map, it's almost a figure of 8, the circuit that they do, when you take a look at the helicopter shot. And then they'll pass the finish line 4 times. The 5th time will be the finish for real.
Welcome here on Binche. It was a little bit of a hectic start to the race, but we're here with you. My name is José Bain, and you just heard Hannah Walker. We have our breakaway of 4. Dries de Bond representing the Alpecin de Koning team. Ryan Gibbons there for the Team UAE Emirates. Nick van der Leijken of the Leopard TOGT team, and Unai Cuadrado for Euskaltel Euskadi. Just 2.5 minutes is the gap. The first time we are going to cross the finish line will be in 15 kilometers. So we're now on the local circuit, but we basically entered the local circuit straight after the finish line in Binche. 2 teams at the front with the Lotto Destiny team, Pascal Eenkhoorn at the front there, and also Lidl Trek. And Lidl Trek are represented by American champion Quinn Simmons. It's quite possibly all in today for Jasper Stuyven. Stuyven, who won his first bike race since Milan-San Remo. That was 2021, I think, by winning the both Belgian and European gravel title. So hopefully he can continue on that form. But there's one big name that he has to take into account, and that is the man with the nickname The Bull. It's Arnaud Delis, who, since coming back from his injury in July, has been on absolute fire. Remember, the guy is 21. This is only his 2nd season in the pro ranks. He just won his first World Tour race in Canada, and he just goes on to win. And his team, as you might imagine, have complete and utter confidence in them and put their entire team at the front. This is the dangerous part, Hannah. We've got some wind there.
This is the dangerous part of the circuit, and this is where the wind is exceptionally strong. We see the wind, it's around 26, 27 kilometers per hour today, but you've got those gusts of wind. And in binche, and especially as we head towards our finishing town, it's gusts of upwards of 45 to 50 kilometers per hour, Jose. So I expect us to have a really thrilling finale, and especially because it's so open. There's nowhere to hide in the peloton at all. For Nordoli, 10 victories already this season, and even just in the last, well, less than a month, he's had 3 pro victories. It's exceptional.
And here we are with the live images. We just make a quick move in time, move forward 3 kilometers. Like I said, the first time we cross the finish line will be at 64.8 kilometers. Big teams at the front who have confidence in their team leaders are Arnaud Delis. Can you blame them? Little Trek are there. We have Yino X with Rasmus Tiller, who was a runner-up in this race 2 years in a row. And we also have AG2R very active at the front with Greg van Avermaet, who's going to say goodbye to professional cycling on Sunday. Quinn Simmons at the front, rather marvellous job there on the American jersey, done by Lidl. Doing a lot of work. Little Trek are here with 6 riders, with Quinn Simmons, and you see Jasper Stuyven, Daan Hole, Tom Squinch, Edward Teuns and Otto Vergaarde. Those are the 6 riders. Squinch, he was 5th in this race last year. Van Avermaet, he was 4th. Hugo Page was 3rd. Rasmus Tiller was 2nd. Those riders are all here. We only don't have our winner from last year, Christophe Laporte, because we don't have Jumbo-Visma in this race. Despite the fact there's quite a few World Tour teams here. There's also still quite a few races on. For those of you who want to see glorious racing in autumnal Italy, there's the Trevale Varesini on our digital channels right now with Matt Stevens and Rob Hatch. We have the Münsterland Giro, that is in a very rainy Germany at the moment with Jess Cox and Brian Smith. And Hannah and I, we're live from Belgium, from Wallonia. If you look on the map, Binche is slightly to the west of Charleroi, which quite euphemistically is called Brussels South Airport. If you
As many of the riders will know that airport very well.
It's very far away from Brussels, my friends.
Very far.
It's nowhere near Brussels, but it's called Brussels South. It's the archetypical Ryanair airport. Well out of town and just named after the town where it's not even in the near. But indeed, it's one of those airports that's used quite frequently by teams to travel around Europe, mostly.
Quite like London Stansted.
Yeah, London Stansted. Is that the one with the carpets?
Oh, don't know.
I think they all have carpets. I don't understand carpets in airports, but
no.
Well, there's still British homes with carpets in bathrooms.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, it's true. It's very soft on the feet. It's very difficult to clean. We have the Intermarché team at the right side of the road. Vanti, one of their sponsors, is based in Binche. So this is a home race. They're also one of the big sponsors of the race. So it is going to be important for them to pull off a good result. They're here with a team on form. Sven-Erik Buström is here. Eme de Gent, Biniam Gremay, Arne Marit, Hugo Page, Mike Teunissen and Rune Herregods. Those are the 7 riders of Intermarché Circus Vanti. Important race for them. We have about 2,000 meters of elevation in our race. That is 198.6 kilometers. With most of the elevation actually in the first 100k. But our local lap does have, as we can see, some elevation to make a difference. But I do think that the most difference will be made by the wind. And as Hannah explained, we've got a cross headwind today. And we already saw in the women's race that you can play with that. Yeah, already mentioned some names, Hannah. What names have you highlighted with? What colour are we using today? I've got green.
Have you gone for green? I've gone for yellow. I've gone for pink in my breakaway 4. The other riders for me to watch out for. Perhaps Gianni Vermeersch to keep an eye on, Matteo Trentin, Pascal Ackermann, Giacomo Nizzolo in one of his final few races for Israel Premier Tech before he moves over to Q36.5. Rasmus Tiller, I know he's definitely one of your riders that's
it's becoming a little bit of a gimmick.
Highlighted in every colour, I'm sure. Sandy Durardin, the Frenchman, who was exceptional at the European Championships. I'll be really interested to see how the 26-year-old Frenchman gets on at Total Energy in today's race. Likewise with Dries van Gestel. But the combination at Group Armour FDG with Lewis Askey and Samuel Watson, and with the squad that they've got here with Fabien Lienhard too, and Kevin Genier and Enzo Paleni, the young 21-year-old Frenchman. I think they've got a really standout squad. You can just see one of the riders. There's Clement Davy, number 65. Between Lewis Askey and Samuel Watson, they were exceptional in the Vuelta, and they were always right in the mix, and it didn't matter whether it was not
it was their first
sprint day. It was their first. It was their Grand Tour debut. And it was fantastic to see the cohesion amongst that team, and of course they had a big job to do, protecting the red jersey on the shoulders of Lenny Martinez. But Askey really thrives in these types of races.
Yeah, one of the names you didn't mention was Fabio Jakobsen.
Didn't get there yet, but of course for Jakobsen in his last race for Soudal Quickstep, I mean, he's been with this team 4 years now, over 40 victories to his name within that squad, making his way to Team DSM Firmenich. And for Fabio Jakobsen, again, another rider who can really thrive here in binche, binch, and for him, he's out of that stressful period too, having signed early on with Team DSM Firmenich. He's one of the few riders, Jose, that isn't going through a really stressful turmoil time right now.
Yeah, of course, as we see that we have a little wardrobe malfunction there for Dries de Bont, showing signs of a crash, because I wear exactly the same brand and it doesn't just tear like that, I can guarantee you. So there has been a little bit of an accident there with Dries de Bont, also a little wound on his elbow. Yeah, of course, in the end, we know nothing for sure about the Jumbo-Visma Soudal Quickstep merger, apart from the fact there's talks. Both Lefevre and Richard Plugge have said there's talks. They have been talking to the UCI, who put out a statement today that if there is going to be a merger, that 18 World Tour license will not be given out. So that means that the Vuelta, the Giro and the Tour de France have one extra wildcard to give out, which is of course great news for some teams in Spain, especially where they have a surplus of Spanish teams and only 2 wildcards to give. Teams like UNOX have already indicated we're not really interested in that World Tour license, we'll keep on our own path. Lotto Destiny the same, but I do think that a team like Israel Premier Tech would have been interested in that World Tour license. But yeah, for now, it's been a lot of rumours. The news first broke on the day of the European Championships by the Dutch site of Willeflits and acclaimed journalist Raymond Kerkhoffs. And I do feel there is at least some truth to it, because Kerkhoffs has been around for at least 30 years. And Willeflits is a website that's been around for quite some time. They won't put their reputation on the line with spreading rumours. But then, after that news comes out, there is so much going on with where is Remco Evenepoel going, what's going to happen with the guys who just signed on to the team, who are going to be the sponsors. The latest news that I read on the same site, Willeflits, is that maybe just a handful of riders are coming over to the Jumbo-Visma team, and in that case it's not a merger, it's a takeover. Of course, they've got a few available spots at the Jumbo-Visma team, sadly due to the fact that Nathan van Hooijdonk had to retire with that cardiac problem, and Roglic is away. The latest rumours, both by our colleague here at GCN, Daniel Benson, and Wielerflits, is that it's going to be Bora Hansgrohe, especially supported and financially supported by Red Bull. But there is so much rumours going on, and not only for the riders, because there's so many riders who are going to be worried. Some riders already found a place. Seneschal was announced at Arkea Samsic yesterday. But also for the staff, Hannah. There's 2 teams with full staff, mechanics, soigneurs, office personnel, bus drivers, the lot, press officers, Swannies. Everybody is
Sports
worried.
Sports directors too.
Sports directors, indeed. It's not a great situation, and as I discussed with Brian Smith the other day, it's not a choice that you make out of luxury. If you have the means and the financial stability to have 2 teams, you have 2 teams, because they're 2 different teams, and people often think, well, you both speak Dutch in Flanders and the Netherlands, you're quite alike. Well, my theory is always that, especially here in the north of the country, we look more like the Danish, the Scandinavians, than we look Belgian or Flemish. These cultures are so different, and if you have the opportunity, you don't want to merge. This is a choice out of necessity, really. Jumbo pulled out of sports sponsorship in its entirety. Also Max Verstappen, also motocross, also speed skating, and apparently they haven't been able to find a sponsor. The biggest team in the world, sweeping the entire podium in the Vuelta, have not been able to find a sponsor. So this is the way that they have to try and get Soudal on board, mostly, and try and keep up to date with the budgets that they have at Ineos and Team UAE. It's just not great for the sport, Hannah. It's not great for our sport.
It's not, and when you see a team who is so successful as Jumbo-Visma, who have won all 3 Grand Tours this season with 3 different riders, as you say, a clean sweep on the podium at the Vuelta, various other results, big results, big classics, yeah. Jose, across the season. And it's not just been this year, but for many years now that they have been so successful. It's incredible that they're not able to find a big sponsor with a lot of money, and it is sad. And as you say, it puts out riders out of a job. It puts, if this merger does go ahead, or the takeover, whatever you want to name it, it puts riders out of a job. It puts many staff members out of a job, but it has the repercussions further down the tree, because the smaller teams, the closures of what perhaps is Bolton Equities, difficulty for human-powered health, it's got repercussions all the way down, and especially for the development riders too. We've got bike racing to watch. We're almost at the 66.6 kilometre mark, and this is that open stretch right before we enter Binche again, and this is where the mayhem is starting, and it's exactly like that. Lidl Trek are at the front of the peloton, creating chaos together with UNOX. This is just a small portion, but we are 4 kilometres before the finish line. This is the place where you can really make a difference, and it's exactly what they are doing right now. Well, this is what happened after that really short stretch of open roads where we had a cross tailwind. The gap of our 4 leaders all of a sudden down to 1.5 minutes, and the group, or the peloton, completely to bits. And this is going to happen another five times, Hannah. 5 times we are going through that exact same stretch of road. This is going to be a really, really hard race. Our 4 leaders, with former Belgian champion Dries de Bont, former African continental champion Ryan Gibbons, Unai Cuadrado Ruiz de Galea, that is a very beautiful name, and Nick van der Leijken, the man here in the turquoisey, bluish jersey of Leopard. This is his final race.
he just announced that he is also going to retire and hopefully will stay in the sport, is what he said on his social media. A rider who's been in many teams, Nick van der Leijken, and taken a wealth of experience with him. Part of the Rabobank Continental team all the way back in 2010. Part of Roompot, that Dutch second division team that we had, and then moved over to Denmark, where he spent the final years of his career.
When you take a look down, the 2 years that he spent with what is now Jumbo Visma, Nick van der Leijken. Take a look, he's 32 years of age now. Just in the Giro during his career, but of course part of that early edition of what was Team NL Lotto Jumbo.
Yeah.
Or Lotto NL Jumbo.
Yeah,
let's get it the right way round.
It's all the Rabobank team, and on the other hand, it's unfair to say it's all the Rabobank team, because after the collapse of the Rabobank team due to the doping cases and everything, there was a complete overhaul of the structure of the team. New management, new personnel, new everything coming in, and yeah, look at where we are now. Looks like Morkov has a problem there, the rider for Soudal Quickstep, who's also rumoured to move on to Astana. Yeah, we're still rumours, but he's rumoured to move on to Astana, and if he does, yeah, there's only one option for Mark Cavendish to follow, of course, to continue his career. Mark Cavendish, who most likely is going to race the Tour of Turkey from Sunday, his first race after the crash in the Tour de France. A race you will be able to follow here on Eurosport, GCN Plus and Discovery Plus, with the iconic duo of Carlton and Brian. Carlton and the Tour of Turkey is, of course, a combination that will be forever linked after one of the most iconic pieces of commentary ever in the history of cycling.
Couldn't agree more. Problem here for Mirko. White change for the Dane.
We are racing through the streets of Binche, a town that's most famous for its carnival, and it's actually on the list of UNESCO as what they call intangible heritage. Of course, you've got the heritage that you can actually see, like the windmills that we have here in the Netherlands, or Stonehenge, or things like that. But you also have the intangible heritage, which are usually customs, and the carnival here in Binche is one of it. Usually takes place in February and March, of course depends on when Easter is, always does with Carnival. Next year Carnival will be, I think, around the 10th of March from the top of my head. They've got costumes and music and most likely beer. They also have another UNESCO World Heritage Site, and that is the Belfry in Binche. The town hall is absolutely really beautiful. They have, due to the fact that they are so closely linked to the carnival, they have a carnival and mask museum. So there you can watch all the elaborate masks that they wear in the carnival. So yeah, a town that is worth visiting, apparently. Apparently I've been there. It's a lovely town. It has a lovely town centre. We have seen the images already where we could see the terraces and everything. Yeah, about a minute for our riders at the front and the peloton, with 60 kilometers to go, Hannah, who are not planning to calm down, which is good because it promises to be a very exciting 1.5 hours of racing.
Absolutely, and now that they're onto these loops, they've gone through, of course, the finish line for the first time and been able to take a look at half of the course thus far. They'll go through the next time at the finish line with 48.6 kilometers remaining, but we've got a great circuit, a great loop. They're heading along this road. This will take them all the way into that right-hand turn, and right now this is the protected part of the course before you head back into that crosswind. You'll get, again, big movement with around 38 kilometers to go on that next part of the lap. But before then, 53.8 kilometers to go, they'll make that their way into what is the exposed open part onto the field, Jose, where it is narrow. And we've seen already where the first strike has been made. And for Intermarché Circus Wanty, of course, with this being a home race for them, it's really important that they can try and deliver a result and primarily a victory in today's race, because they also come with an A-star team amongst their roster of the 7 riders, because they've got 7 riders who arguably you could say 3 riders have the potential to win here in Biniam Gourmet, Hugo Page, who took his first pro victory in the Tour de Limousin, and then you've got Mike Turnison too. So that's just 3 of their 7 who have the potential to have a result today.
Got attacks coming from the peloton with the Arkea Samsic team and the Bingle Wallonie-Bruxelles team. Another team, of course, from the local, supported by the Walloon government. Yes, we are on the first of our local laps with still our 4 breakaway riders. Dries de Bond of Alpecin de Koning, Unai Quadrado of Euskaltel Euskadi, Ryan Gibbons of UAE Team Emirates, and Nick van der Leijken of the Leopard team. They never really got that much of a gap, but especially due to the crosswinds that we have on certain parts of our local 16.2 kilometer lap, the gap has now dropped to 1 minute and 14. A counter-attack from Arkea Samsic, a team that will be called B&B Hotels next year. They will be back in pro cycling, and also Bingle Wallonie-Bruxelles, a team from the region. But quickly countered there by another group. We all immediately recognise Yves Lampaert, of course, also Dan Hole. And this is one of the other absolutely marvellous Basque names. I was in the Clásica San Sebastián earlier this year, Hannah, and of course they did the announcing on the podium in both Spanish with Juan Mari Guajardo and in Basque. And the only thing that you can actually decipher from Basque are the names, if you really listen closely. But the fun thing is it sounds Spanish, but it sounds Spanish without you being able to understand one single word. The accent is exactly the same. And Basque is one of the, if not the oldest language in the world, and they can't really trace its origins due to the fact it's so old. It's never been documented properly. So that was one of the Basque riders at the team car, but we go all the way back to the front with a man whose name is a lot easier to pronounce, Louis Aski. We also have Edvard Boasson-Hagen there at the front, Matteo Trentin, one of the riders there, as we have an attack from Groupama FDJ. Looking over his shoulder to see if anybody wants to follow him. Apparently not. But he does decide to continue this attack at 60 kilometers from the line. Here is the mechanical problem where the Basque rider Lopez went to the Radio Tour car 4 to call his sports manager. If you look at the order of affairs here when it comes to the team cars, it's basically a draw. So at the sports directors meeting, you draw your place in the caravan, and if you're unlucky, you're the last one.
He did well at trying to limit his losses though, Anthony Lopez. And we've seen on parts of this circuit as well where, let's be fair, the road surface isn't immaculate. There's plenty of little potholes, there's places where you can have those pinch punches, and we saw a lot of those during the women's race too. Flat tyres, and especially into crucial parts of the circuit as we neared closer. The country roads on the back end of the circuit. So it could be a real problem in terms of having punches on this final circuit, Jose, where it's incredibly difficult because of the wind conditions, because of just how fast it has been, and all the teams fighting for position. It's incredibly difficult to come back, but it also means that you need to be smart and to try and ride on a mechanical for as long as you possibly can.
Yeah, I do hope that this camera man or camera woman is using a tele lens and not racing right in front of Enzo Paleni, because that would give him a huge advantage. Yeah, the camera bike is racing rather in front of him. That was some nice motor pacing going on. I was already wondering, because the gap was going out so fast. It's like, well, this motorbike might be a little bit too close there. Yeah, we're racing in Wallonia, which traditionally is, the poorer part of the country of Belgium. It used to be the other way around when coal was mined here in Wallonia. When the coal mines closed, basically, fortunes reversed as our man with the flat tyre manages to get back, Lopez de Abitsuko. There's just less funding in Wallonia. It's as simple as that. So they have less funding for the roads to be kept in pristine condition. Tadej Pogačar sadly knows all about that in Liège-Bastogne-Liège, and we saw a horrible crash in the women's race as well. Michal Morkov, after his flat tyre, is back in the peloton, as is Hugo Hofstetter, and now we're here with
he's had a harsh crash as well, Hofstetter. You can see there from the road rash on his right-hand side. There's been a few riders who've been involved in that crash, and of course that was before we came onto air. Good to see that Hofstetter has been able to get himself back on, Jose.
This is Enzo Paleni, a man with a beautiful Italian name, but he's very much French. Races for the Groupama FDG team. One of these riders from their own development team. Almost all of the riders starting today are from the own development team, including Lewis Askey and Sam Watson. Sam Watson had an absolute superb European Championships, didn't he, Anna?
He did, and that came off the back of finishing his first Grand Tour at the Vuelta alongside Askey, and for him, he'd come into some exceptional form. He's a rider with a really bright future ahead of him, but also between that duo, two riders who can sprint very well, but they're also very much suited to these classic style races, and especially these type of one-day races. And I think it's great to see amongst Groupama FDG that when they have developed talent from their continental squad, and then they've gone on to that World Tour squad, that they're able to thrive and also have that time within the World Tour squad to develop. You take a look at Jake Stewart, who next year are off to pastures new, but another rider who's come through the development of Groupama FDG into the World Tour squad, has had a couple of professional victories, both of those coming at the Tour de l'Ain. Well, wonderful to see.
Early August. There will be a new Brit on the team next year. Matthew Walls, of course, a track specialist as well, has been announced for the Groupama FDG World Tour team next year. So one Brit leaving, Jake Stewart off to Israel Premier Tech, and one Brit arriving. And also on the development team, there's a lot of British youngsters. The Groupama FDG development team is the youngest continental team in the world, because they lost 8 of their riders. They sent 8 of their riders off to the World Tour team, so they had to sign new 18-year-olds to their team. So they're the youngest team, and it's a place where a lot of young British riders find their place and their footing and their pathway into the World Tour, as you just described. Hannah, we're about to go into the echelon sector again. After this village, it's going to happen.
It is. In a kilometre and a half's time, they'll go into that echelon section, and that's where we can expect again the group to really whittle down. And I think it is a whittling down process in today's race, Jose, where if you're up towards the front and teams who really want to take it on and take it by the scruff of the neck, that they can really do the damage. But what they would need to be mindful of and careful of is that they they don't do things so early that they lose the horsepower for the back end of the race. We've already seen just how difficult it is as we start to see here. This is David Dekker. See riders going out the back and not make it back in.
No, and with the absolute abysmal road service there for us to enjoy. Yeah, I think David Dekker was the guy who attacked a little bit earlier on, because it would be weird if he's lapped. Normally, then he would have been taken out by the race commissaires. It's a 16.2 kilometer lap, so that will take the riders 22 minutes is my... Nah, a little bit more than that. 3 times 60 is 48. Yeah, it could be around the 22 minutes. They won't keep the roads open for 22 minutes. So there comes a point that when the last rider has passed, they have to open the roads again and people have to continue. After this corner, we're back into crosswind heaven or hell, whatever your perspective is. But we're still with our 4 leaders who attacked straight from the gun with Risterbond, colours of Alps in de Koning, Nick van der Lijken for the Leopard TOGT team, Unai Quadrazzo for Euskaltel, and Ryan Gibbons for UAE. Enzo Paleni in the middle, he's a minute and 2 behind our leading quartet and about half a minute in front of the peloton. This might be an authentic, what we call chaspatat, a fruitless chase. Basically, a translation is a potato chase. It's a potato hunt, actually. It's a very Belgian expression, a chaspatat. And Belgians Flemish, and that's how our language is kind of different. Patat is used as it's nothing. It's an expression that we don't have in the Netherlands. It's very Flemish. But it's made its way into the colloquialisms of the cycling vocabulary. Greg van Avermaet, our former Olympic champion in his last races. 42 wins in his career. The first one all the way back in 2007 in the Tour of Qatar. There were road stages in the Tour de France. Of course, that stint in the yellow jersey, I think it was 7 or 8 days in the yellow jersey. He won Paris-Roubaix, he won Gent-Wevelgem, to name but a few. His last win was this year. That was after 4 years without a win. Came in one of the French National Cup races in Boucle de l'Aulne, which is most likely going to be his final victory. But of course, that win in Paris-Roubaix 6 years ago was absolutely spectacular. I said on the top of the program that he hoped to have one more. I was confusing him with Sepp van Marken, who was always close to winning something really big. Greg van Avermaet did win a lot of really big things. Both retired this year.
And of course, Sepp on to a new role, staying and remaining within professional cycling and just on the other side of the fence now, which is great to see.
Here we are with the Orbea of Unai Quadrazzo. Another rumour in the peloton is that Lotto Destiny are moving on to the Orbea brand after saying goodbye to Ridley, their long-standing sponsor. So there's a lot of rumours going on at the moment. We don't know what is true. We do know that in the case of the Jumbo-Visma Soudal Quick-Step merger, that the UCI have kind of rushed the two teams and said, well, we need to know something before the 19th of October, or else all of your contracts will be void. Well, if the legal structure of Soudal Quick-Step disappears, which is Decolev, it also means that all these contracts go void, and then Remco Evenepoel, well, one of the big questions that will be asked, we don't have an off-season just yet, Hannah. We still have to keep right on the ball when it comes to the cycling news, because big things will happen in the coming weeks.
But I think there's still so much time for shake-up, and we're not even into real off-season yet, while some riders have have had their last races of the season, and for some it'll be their final races this week. There's still so much uncertainty, and it's also not a nice period of the year here where riders might have felt that they were very secure for the next season. They had a contract, and now it's uncertainty for everybody. And I think for many riders, they know that they need to try and get a result at these final few races that remain here. And so the pressure's really on for many. It's a difficult time.
Yeah, so far the Soudal Quickstep team have signed only riders of their own development team, including the Lombardia Under-23 winner of last weekend, William Junior Lasserre, and of course Mikel Landa. And of course there's always a meme around Mikel Landa. There's hashtags with Free Landa. I wonder what goes through his head right now.
Massively.
But it's not good for the sport. Let's just conclude at that. It's devastating for the sport that we are going to lose a team, a long-standing team as it looks right now. That's been forever, over 20 years of Patrick Lefevere in Quickstep.
But also for a rider who's signing his first pro contract in Luc Lamperty, coming across from Trinity Racing, who has been so mightily successful during his time as an under-23, signed his first pro contract for 2024, and now the uncertainty for him and for agents too, trying to find opportunities for their riders within their agency.
Yeah, there is. Just keep an eye on the GCN website. Daniel Benson and his team are right on the ball when it comes to all the events happening around the around this story. Let's go back to the racing. Final 50 kilometers, Hannah.
Final 50 kilometers. Nick van der Leijker has waved goodbye to the breakaway duo, being pushed on by Ryan Gibbons, who's off to Little Trek next year, and Dries de Bont. But now we've lost Unai Cuadrado, Basque rider for Euskaltel Euskadi, and for Nick van der Leijker, another rider racing in his final pro race, got himself into the breakaway, put himself right into the mix of things. Delaney not making the inroads that he once was making, but he's certainly putting himself on the front foot. As they go through the finish line, all being led by Uno X Pro Cycling at the head of affairs. Delaney, like I say, you're putting yourself into the forefront of potential action, and for Groupama FDG coming with several riders who you can all see up towards the front. There is Samuel Watson in the navy blue jersey, but he just gives them that opportunity now to sit back and follow and leave that chase down to Uno X Pro Cycling.
It's such a beautiful jersey of the Groupama FDG team, the royal blue that they have on their shoulders. All the way at the back we are here with loyal domestique and super lead out Jonas Rickaert. And back with our chaser Enzo Paledi, one of the 8 riders who made the jump up to the World Tour this year from the development squad. Other riders were Lenny Martinez. We know him from the Vuelta, of course, wearing the red leaders jersey. Was it one day? I think it was one day, wasn't it? It was
2 days.
It was
2
days. It was a brief stint in that jersey for Lenny, but the world has seen him in action on the steep climbs that we had in the Vuelta. Of course, some great pedigree there from Lenny Martinez. Uno X at the front. We also have Gianni Vermeers, the reigning world gravel champion. He's on the list to defend his title next Sunday in the northeast of Italy. A race you will be able to see live here as well. I just wonder what happened to the big shorts there after Mr. Bont. That there might have been a crash, you know, one of the handlebars touching him. Doesn't really show any signs, but he might have been involved in a crash, because we also see on the back of his jersey there's also some scrapes So looks like he's been down. Former Belgian champion. You can see by the bands here. A man who's always on the attack. In front of him we have Ryan Gibbons, who is going to move on to a new team next year. Lidl Trek, one of the many new signings there of the American team. If we could glance over the shoulder here of Enzo Paleni, we would see the peloton approaching really fast. It's just 25 seconds. Yeah, this has not been the success that he hoped it to be, apparently. But it also forces other teams to do a little bit of work, and they have a few other riders who could do some work. Bram Velter was pretty impressive earlier this weekend, I was going to say, but that was on Sunday in Tour de Vendée, doing a good lead out for Paul Penouet. Hugo Hofstetter, yeah, well, not his day either. I think he's also moving on to a new team. Yes, he is. Israel Premier Tech.
Going back home, let's say.
He is indeed going. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I wonder if they already had a jersey mate for his rather impressive dog.
Absolutely.
I do count on you, Israel Premier Tech. I do count on you. I don't know if you saw Pavel Sivakov's dog, like a wiener dog. Yeah, he was comforting his dad after the finish line. Or like my dogs do, or maybe your dogs do as well, after a rather sweaty ride, they like the salt on your skin.
You could be gone for 2 minutes, you could be gone for 2 hours. They're just as excited to see you. And yeah, likewise with Tom Pidcock's dog. Adam Yates, I think, has the most impressive.
Yeah, well, Adam's dog actually had an accreditation in the Vuelta.
Sepp Kuss.
Oh, was Sepp Kuss's dog? Oh, yeah.
Sepp Kuss's dog had the accreditation. It was Yates' dog who was very prominent in the Tour de France.
Oh, Yates was the fluffy white one, wasn't it? Yeah. This is Luca van Boven with an attack. He is one of the riders who signed a pro contract with the team, together with Tom Portsmouth from the UK. Great reward there for Tom to step up to the pro team from the development setup of the Bingo Wallonie-Bruxelles team. He's great to follow on Twitter or X. Writes some blogs as well. He's quite an accomplished writer as well, giving you a little insight in what it's like to be a UK rider trying to make it on the continent. And so far, he's made it. He's made a step up to being a professional rider next year, Tom Portsmouth. Back to our two leaders with Dries de Bond and Ryan Gibbons. These are two very strong riders, actually. They almost got 2 minutes on the peloton. I'm not going to call it with an hour of racing to go that they do stand a chance, but it's not impossible.
It's not. And for Gibbons, for example, like you say, I mean, they're both exceptionally strong riders, but for Gibbons, he's a great time trialist too. And so for UAE Team Emirates, likewise, having Ryan Gibbons in that breakaway, it takes the pressure off their team to have to ride on the front. It forces other teams to do so, and for riders like Pascal Ackermann, Matteo Trentin, Alvaro Hodge, who can just sit and wait patiently in the peloton from behind within that squad. And Mikel Biao too, we saw him making that bridge back across into the front part of the group earlier on. But great for Gibbons to be given that opportunity.
Nick van der Leijken is following Enzo Paleni for our man from the Basque country, Unai Cuadrado. It's becoming a little bit more difficult. And you can see the elevation. Like I said, we've got 2,000 meters of elevation in this race of almost 200 kilometers. With the wind, with the active racing, because it's been full on actually for the past hour since we started the broadcast. There's just no leisurely riding like we had, for example, on Sunday. In the Tour de Vendée, we had a breakaway. The peloton was racing with the brakes on, not wanting to catch the breakaway too soon. And then we had a sprint. And these races are okay. They happen. But, yeah, these are, of course, races that are much more difficult and much more tiring.
It is, and you're constantly on the pedals on a race like today, because as you see, they're onto that false flat. It's only around 1-2% at the moment, but you're constantly pressing on the pedals and never able to have that respite.
Dries de Bont, Ryan Gibbons are two leaders from our breakaway of 4. Dries de Bont, yeah, he always wants to race. He always wants to race his bike. He doesn't have the new contract, like I said, like I want to say it right, wasn't announced just yet for the 2024 Alpecin de Koning squad, but only 17 riders are confirmed for next year. So for the World Tour teams that we have, that is one of the lowest numbers, actually. I think Ineos do a little bit lower because, yeah, they still have to confirm a whole lot of contracts for next year. But Alpecin de Koning have got 17 riders on their roster. When it comes to Ineos, they've got 15. But out of these 15, I think there's also names on this list that were rumoured to move on. But yeah, that is the rumour mill. Let's just leave that for now, Hannah, because we'll just have to follow the GCN website for now to find out what's going to happen. Or maybe by this weekend we'll have more information when we have Lombardia for you. Start to finish, beautiful, beautiful race. Como to Bergamo, all the other way around. I always tend to confuse that. But it's beautiful in Lombardia, the race of the falling leaves, or the race of the dead leaves, I think they call it in Italy. And then on Sunday, we have Paris Tours for you, the final road race of the season in France. But it's not done after that. We have the Tour of Turkey that was postponed from April when Turkey was sadly stricken together with Syria by that horrible earthquake. And then we have the Tour of Guangxi, our final World Tour event of the season, still happening. And yeah, not a lot of riders are usually quite enthusiastic about the Tour of Guangxi because of the place on the calendar, but it gives you just as many World Tour points as winning the Tour of the Basque Country or Catalonia or the Renewy Tour or whatever it's called these days.
And for those teams who are looking for big points, a big opportunity for them to score the points at the final race of the season. You know, not thinking about next year, but seasons coming up.
There he is with number 41, the man of the moment, Arnaud Delis. His team will have to participate in the chase. They're racing here with Cedric Beulens, Sebastian Grignard, Arjen Levins, Alex Segaert, Florian Vermeers, the Belgians, and former Dutch champion Pascal Eenkhoorn. We already saw him at the front of the peloton a little while ago. They are here to assist Arnaud Delis to another win. This final, with the power that he has, he is the absolute top favourite to win it. We're back with our two leaders here in Binche Chemin Binche. A race with quite a long history in the town of, well, Binche, and that is also a town with a rather long history, dating all the way back to the Middle Ages when it was a short settlement, and then it was overruled by the Spanish, by the Austrians, by the French, and by the Dutch, because, well, Belgium and the Netherlands, at one point, they were one, and after 1831, the final occupiers left the country, and Binche became Belgian. Yeah, in a modern era, it's an industrial centre. It's known for its carnival. It's known for its beautiful historical architecture, like the belfry that we're probably going to see a little bit later on, because we're making our way to the finish. We're halfway into the local lap. The situation is as follows: we have Dries de Bont of the Alpecin de Koning team and Ryan Gibbons of UAE Team Emirates in the lead. And then Nick van der Leijken, who remained of our original breakaway of 4, together with Enzo Paleni of Groupama FDG, who attacked from the peloton. In the peloton, Lots of Destiny, very active. We saw Lidl Trek a little while ago. They're now a little bit further back. No, they're back at the front. And also X were very active in this race. With number 81, we have Jasper Stuyven. He won the gravel race on Sunday, I think it was. And that Gravel World Series race dubbed as the Belgian and European Championships as well. And that's how we ended up with Tiffany Cromwell winning the race and Lorena Wiebes becoming European champion. It bodes well for Tiffany Cromwell when it comes to this weekend. Jasper Stuyven said after that title, I haven't been asked by the team just yet to go to Italy, because for now I'm on the roster for Paris Tours. It will be really hard, Hannah, to make that last-minute adjustment in the program, isn't it? Because you're racing for the Belgian national team, actually, at the World Championships.
Yeah, absolutely. So it could be difficult. It depends in what also Jasper Stuyven wants to do. If the opportunity arises, if the team says it's okay for him to do, having taken that European title. You saw the joy in which Stuyven experienced having taken that title. It was the world champion Vermeersch who was in fourth. So he's displaying good form, Vermeersch, both for the upcoming Worlds, but also for today's race, Jose, for Gianni Vermeersch of Alpecin-Deceuninck. Another squad who've got multiple options for today's victory. And between him and Soren Krauw Andersen, you have to say they've got a really strong squad.
Yeah, Gianni Vermeersch is the kind of rider who could do really well on a punchy finish like we have today. Still around the 2-minute mark for our leading duo, where they work well together. Of course, the moment they start staring at each other and try to play the poker game, it's usually the end of this adventure. But as the kilometers tick by, we're making our way to binche again. Next time we cross the finish line is at 32 kilometers. So that crosswind sector is coming up pretty soon. You can see from the mineral deposits there on the jersey of Dries de Bont that it's still a hard race, and the temperatures, it's not as warm as it was this weekend or even Monday, yesterday, when it was like 22, 24 degrees here in Belgium. But still, you can see from the deposits there that it's still a hard race. There's still some serious sweating going on.
They were making great inroads, this duo, and especially Pellegrini earlier on. Now it's holding steady at that 1 minute and 15 time gap to our leading duo, and the peloton, whilst they've kept the control, 40 seconds is the deficit now to Pellegrini and Van der Leijck. And Van der Leijck, he couldn't hold on to the pressure that was applied at the front by Dries de Bont and Ryan Gibbons, but now it seems almost like he's gone through that bad period, perhaps, where he's been in the breakaway for such a long period of time, but then he's got that second wave and then has realised another opportunity has arose to try and bring him back into the front of the race, and having the help from Pellegrini, who is, of course, with fresher legs, having not been in the breakaway. But I have to say, it's kind of worked into the favour of Groupama FDG here, because placing a rider who is now out of this chaos and having to ride within the crosswinds and always fighting, jostling for the position, they'll get to that part in around a kilometre's time, the peloton, where we get into the narrow section of the crosswind. Any moment now, that's where the leaders will be. But for Pellegrini, you're out of having to constantly use the energy to hold your position and fight and make sure that you're not on the receiving end of a split.
Well, the peloton keeps it together, so to say, on this open stretch past the Abbey de Bon Espérance, the Abbey of the Good Hope. It's a beautiful, beautiful complex. Used to be a school, actually. I don't know what it's used for right now, but it's absolutely stunning. The church and the abbey. It's not a so-called Trappist abbey like Chimay is, because if you want to be a Trappist beer, you have to have your Trappist monks on site and the brewing process on site, actually. And there's only 10 breweries left that are actually Trappist. It's an Abbey beer, but not all Abbey beers are Trappist beers. Most famous in the world, of course, Westvleteren, which we see every year in Gent-Wevelgem. Westmalle, which is also in Flanders, and then quite a few here in Wallonia. They have Rochefort, Orval, which if you are in Wallonia, if you are in the Ardennes, please visit. It's one of the most beautiful places I have ever been. And Chimay. Then we've got 2 in the Netherlands, in Zundert, which is, well, basically Belgium. It's on the Belgian border. And also in Berkel en Schot, which is also basically Belgium. 1 in Austria, 1 in Italy, and 1 in the UK, in Leicestershire. And that is all that's left of the once mighty Trappist empire. Chimay comes in all different colours, blue and red. Well, that's not the actual colour of the beer, but that's the colour of the bottle, or the label, actually. And traditionally, if you are first at the Chimay Intermediate Sprint, you get a prix au nature, so a price in Chimay beer. I don't know how much beer you get, but you do get beer.
Perfect time for the off-season, isn't it, for these riders? And
yeah, give it to the mechanics for all
riders,
the work that they've done.
I was going to say, mechanics, the soigneurs, share it all out.
Yeah, well, we were just, of course, talking about the dogs of the peloton. If you want more dogs of the peloton, Anna Campbell has got you covered there on Twitter with, of course, the fluffy white Yates dog. We have the Thomas Pidcock Wiener dog. I think Wout Poels' dog is also there. Wout Poels' dog actually has its own Instagram account. But I think one of the off-season articles that I'm going to write is actually going to be the dogs of the peloton, and then interview them. It's going to happen. It really is. Got 3 months to make it work. 34 kilometres to go here with the bike of Dries de Bond. Of course, we saw at the recorded images, it was a rather wet start. There was some rain in the morning, but luckily the skies have cleared. You can see it on the helmets as well, on the bikes. It has cleared. They still got 150 as we make our way to the finish line. The final kilometre is coming up, and maybe, Hannah, it's a good moment to look at that final kilometre that basically starts with that left-hander that comes from now. There it is, final kilometre.
They take on this final kilometre, and this is where the road starts to rise, and you have, first of all, that false flat, but you're onto the cobbles. That really is, it's a kilometre, it's a final in a race where it really puts you into a huge deficit, and then towards the top of this cobble section, Jose, this is where you're seeing gradients, and it's not big gradients, but it's 5-6%, but after a tough race, it can really do a lot of damage. And you can also see from the cobbles that they've been laid for probably, I want to say 100 years or more. Decades and decades. But then you go onto this plateau into the running before you have a false flat to the finish line once again. It's one in which timing's everything, but it's also trying to save a little something for that finale. If you go early, you can certainly run out of steam, run out of gas. It's one in which, if you've also got the strength in numbers, you can put your rivals into difficulty and into a deficit.
It's Dan Hole leading the peloton with Hugo Page, and also with Ivo Oliveira. 2 more laps to go. There is the VIP village, and look at how many people have shown up on this beautiful autumnal day in binche, the final race of the Belgian UCI cycling season. We've got some kermesses still going on, I think, because kermesses are usually tied to the harvest season, and that is still ongoing. Enzo Paleni left Nick van der Leijken behind, and there is the peloton that is sweeping up Nick van der Leijken. Good on him to show himself in that final race of his pro career. And there is Yves Lampaert. Yves Lampaert with, I think, Stan de Wulf on his wheel. Dan Holen still patrolling the peloton. The pace is on. The gap is down to 1 minute and 30 for our two leaders. They are about to catch Paleni. This is indeed Stan de Wulf together with Yves Lampaert. Paleni should be right in front of him. There it is. We see Matteo Trentin. We see the man with moustache, Erik Reesel. Rasmus Tiller all the way at the front as well.
Now Paleni's got fresh legs with him in this duo, and you can already start to see that there's tired legs here. There's a lot of riders who are feeling the fatigue after a difficult race, not just because of the parkour, but indeed the weather conditions having a big part to play in that. We even saw for Dan Holen, who has been in some tremendous form of late, the way you can see from the body language, and now Paleni as Stan de Wulf just kicks on, putting the young Frenchman into a little bit of difficulty. But you're onto all this false flat once again, where the road continues to rise, and if they can really keep the pressure applied within this chasing trio.
We have some reaction straight away from the peloton with the bright yellow helmets of Intermarché. There we have it, and also Matteo Trentin is making the way across. I think this is Aimé de Gent for Intermarché. Yeah, it is Aimé de Gent. So that makes 5 riders on the chase. No, it's Hugo Page.
Hugo Page, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it was on the podium last year. Kilometers, just over 30 kilometers to go. We still have our two leaders, Dries de Bont and Ryan Gibbons. But this is a chasing group with Yves Lampaert, who was first to attack, followed by Stan de Wulf. Enzo Paleni, of course, he was still in the middle. We have Matteo Trentin there, and we have Hugo Page. And there is a counter-attack from the riders of Lidl Trek. And this is Tom Squinch, our favourite Latvian rider. I've been told, actually, Hannah, there's 13 Lidl shops in Latvia. I don't know if he is about to visit each and every one of them in the off-season.
To do a bikepacking trip from each and every one.
Yeah, together with his daughter Lila. But yeah, there is a Lidl in Latvia. And Tom Squinch is a good stint at the end of the season, making his way across. We have Rasmus Tiller there as well. This could be an important move. Oh, look at how hard it is for Squinch to really make it across there. This will cost some valuable energy there for the Latvian.
It will cost a lot of energy to make it across, but the rewards will be reaped once he gets across, and also this other group, because if they can continue and immediately get some cooperation and cohesion within this front group here, Jose, by the time they get to the next crosswind section with 21.6 kilometers remaining, that puts everyone else who's chasing into real difficulty. And if they can really share that workload, as here we see Alvaro Hodge of UAE Team Emirates.
I've just been informed by Tom's wife that the bikepacking trip would take 2 days to all the Latvian Lidls. But Abby,
is that consistently riding, or is that?
It is going to happen, Abby. It is going to happen. You are ready for that bikepacking trip in the off season. Yeah, well, yeah, we had hoped that this was the move, but when the riders are starting to look at each other, yeah, that is of course never a great sign. Nope, this is not the move just yet. But the gap to the Bont and Gibbons is down to just 43 seconds. I have absolutely full confidence today in Rasmus Tiller. I always have full confidence in Rasmus Tiller.
You do, but I think rightly so, to show so much promise that Tiller can pull off such a good result. If you think only a few days ago he was second at Circo Franco-Belge, he was very consistent and of course won a stage in the Tour of Britain.
Fifth on the European Championships.
Yeah, sixth in the European Championships. And so he's shown that promise.
I am going to found that Rasmus Tiller fan club in the off season, so applications can already be sent to me. But this is the kind of finish that he could do really well. But of course, we still have a certain man called Arnaud Delis, and he's part of this group. Because there he is. Not only Rasmus Tiller, but more importantly, Arnaud Delis is part of this move. It's not the move just yet, but it shows that the riders do have the form. It shows us who has got the form. Mozzato, interesting rider there with number 76. We already saw that Hofstetter is having a little bit of a nightmare race. We also have Søren Kragh Andersen there. Florian Sénéchal in one of his last races for the Soudal Quick Step formation. He is moving on to Arkea Samsic. Dries van Gestel, one of the riders there for Total Energie. And Arnaud Delis in that always laborious style of riding. Like often when you look at Arnaud Delis, you think maybe tune it down a little with the gearing. But that's just the way that he rides. He's got the knees, he's got the ligaments to do it. And it works really, really well for him, even on one leg.
That was exceptional on the weekend, wasn't it? It was. I take my hat off to him. The way he still took the victory. There's Xian, who's trying to bridge across at the moment. But some riders, I mean, you allude to the gear selection, and he always rides with a really low cadence, but some riders, that's just their style, their nature of how they like to ride, and the way in which works best for them. You know, there's others who always like to have a really high cadence. You think to Demi Vollering, for example, she always likes to have that high cadence, and for others, yeah, it works for them being in a bigger gear, low cadence, rather like to push on the pedals as opposed to spin their way through.
We have Pierre-André Côté there, 142. This is the jersey of the Pan-American champion. And look at the pace there. Looking at the riders at the tail end of the peloton. Michael Mørkøe there. And there we are back at the front. Yves Lampaert, Stan de Wulf, Dries van Gestel, Trentin, Rasmus Tiller, Jasper Stuyven. Squinch is really fighting to stay on right there. And I think what they have to do after the rather impressive display of Arnaud Delis is trying to get rid of Arnaud Delis before the finish.
But it's how and when do you do it, because he's such an accomplished rider who can deal with a really intense race. And even when the pressure has been on, and for Lotto Destiny, they come here with a team who it's all in for the Belgian sprinter. And even when it's been a really attritional race, he's got that ability to sprint. And whilst, of course, your sprinting, your peak power and whatnot isn't the same as perhaps a pure sprint race where it perhaps has been a flat day and you've been well protected, he's still got that power to be able to beat others.
Welcome back. We are in the final of Binche Chemin Binche. We have a little bit of a breakaway with some big names in it, including Jasper Stuyven, Rasmus Tiller, Matteo Trentin, but not Arnaud Delis. And that's why Alex Segaert, the under-23 European time trial champion, put in such a huge effort just now to bring Arnaud Delis back to the front. Yves Lampaert is not waiting for this, and he continues. Yeah, like we said a little while ago, with the power that Arnaud Delis has, you just have to try and eliminate him and make sure that he's not part of the first group in the final. And that seems to be the tactic of many of these teams right now.
But now they need to capitalise on the fact that he's not there, because if he's still there and remaining within the group, it's going to be incredibly hard to eliminate him into a finale. And especially when a rider like De Lee or any other sprinter gets a sniff of a finish line, no matter how much pain they're going through, they can always pull theirself through a tough patch, because they know, well, in 2 or 3 kilometres time, it's going to be the finish line, and that's that sprinter's mentality. And for those riders now who are really forcing the pace, now's the time to capitalise when they're on the front foot and they know one of the fastest riders is being distanced.
Well, it looks like he's back.
Already. I mean, this is you think to the races in Canada.
I think this is Segaard, by the way. But let's see what happens here. Is this it's a flat tyre. Sadly for Edvald Boas van Hagen, flat tyre there for the Norwegian of Total Energie. But yeah, our breakaways, they're happening. There's groups left, right and centre, but we're about to catch the final 2 riders of the original early race breakaway. There we go, with Ryan Gibbons and Dries de Bond. They were part of a quartet, a group of 4, with also Nick van der Leijken and Unai Cuadrado. But the peloton is there on this rather abysmal stretch of road in Wallonia. Dries de Bond, he's not ready just yet to give up. That's how we know him, of course. We're halfway into the local lap now, so we're on the southernmost tip of our lap. The wind is a westerly one, so it is going to be cross wind most of the course. We're almost on the border with France in this race. Binche is slightly to the west of Charleroi. Then we're making our way down to the south to Chimay, surprise, and then all the way back to Binche. Riding on the border, actually, on this Sambre River. De Bond and Gibbons still holding on for dear life here on this open stretch of road. And then the peloton completely in pieces. And now it's all about who has got the riders left, Hannah, who still has got the men power at the front to try to have a little bit of control.
To try and have some control, and that's the difficult part now, where they're really kicking things on at the front, and Soudal Quickstep there, also Leopard are there with 1 rider too. They've got a couple of kilometres, 1.4 kilometres, 1.5 kilometres until they'll get right into that country section of the lap, and where the wind really will start to have that big effect once again. And so a couple of riders from the Van Liesel Roubaix Lille Metropole team, Norman Vatra, the former Estonian road race champion, just at the back of that string. And now that Dries de Bond and Ryan Gibbons about to be mopped up by the peloton behind, it at least gives those 2 teams another extra rider for their squads at this point in the race. As now Soudal Quickstep on the front, and Kasper Askeren bridging things across and just keeping a control along with Dan Höhler. It's now time for the teams to start to get themselves organised. There's now Groupama FDG with another big injection, and Dries de Bond is not ready to give up the front and the holding at the front here just yet.
That's how we know him. As the leaves fall from the trees, it's the 3rd of October. Binche, the final race on the calendar here in Belgium. Because this weekend we just start cyclocross in Beringen, which is very exciting. But first we are going to see who goes away with the win. Last year it was Christophe Laporte, but he's slightly busy at the moment in Italy. Other former winners, well, Van Poppel, also in Italy. Tom van Asbroek, De Buys, De Maar, Sinkeldam, Stibar, Jansen van Rensburg, Adam Blythe and Rudiger Selig. Ilia Viviani was the first one in 2010 to win the modern reiteration of this race. That was actually recreated by the uncle of Frank van der Broeke, Jean-Luc van der Broeke. And Frank van der Broeke himself was the last winner before the race. The race disappeared for 14 years, not 24. And it's now called the Memorial Frank van der Broeke. Of course, one of the most iconic riders of the late 1990s. This is the province of Hainaut, or Henegouwen in Flemish, one of the 10 provinces of Belgium. It's an absolute beautiful part. It's slightly to the south of East Flanders, and it's beautiful with these little hills that they have, the beautiful pastures, but also sadly the really bad road surface, but also wonderful towns like Binche, where we're going right now. And if you like your beer, and many people of course do like their beer, this is prime territory, because the other Trappist abbeys, they're only about 50 to 80 kilometers from where we are now. So you can do a little bit of a grand tour de bière if you're up for that. Do take a designated driver.
Now, of course.
No, take a designated driver, because these abbey beers, they do tend to hit you hard.
Strong.
Oof. We're out on our open stretch of road again. Who is going to try anything? It looks like the wind is settling down just a little bit. In the women's race, it looked like there was more wind than we have today in the men's race. But look at the pace there at the front of the peloton. It's completely stretched out. And if you are that rider who is, well, just a bike length behind the rider in front of you, you're a pretty unhappy camper. One of the things I learned, Hannah, when I started riding a bike, because I come from swimming, is I always thought when watching bike race, like if you have one like bike lamp gapped in the wind, just tune it up, get an extra gear, close the gap. But no, you are absolutely screwed if you are that person behind the gap.
But this is the prime example that's happening right now, where one of the riders here for Bingoal has just let the wheel go, unable to follow the front wheels there, and then now it's left to Lotto Destiny to try and bridge across before it's too late. And now we start to see Cofidis trying to get themselves in a move. This is Alexis Reynard along with Matteo Trentin, who's showing some really good form here.
Yeah, it's also going to be one of his last races for this team. He's also moving. He's going to be part of the Tudor Pro Cycling team from next year, Matteo Trentin. But Yves Lampaert quickly joins them. It looks like Sam Watson. Yeah, but this is the way that you can eliminate Arnaud Delis, because as we already saw at the European Championships, Hannah, he sometimes loses the wheel. He finds it difficult to stay there. And this looks to be Cedric Beulens, so he has to wait now. Van Holen moving up again. Oh, no, this is Jasper Stuyven, of course. Stuyven together with Arne Marit. Well, not together with Arne Marit. This is just Jasper Stuyven, the man who is the European gravel champion. The World Championships next year are in his hometown of Leuven. So, yep, he said, I might get myself some bigger tyres and go for it. Jasper Stuyven, Arne Marit. And then it's up to Alex Segaert yet again to close that gap. Glancing over his shoulder to see where Arnaud Delis is. And we do know that he can pull this off. It was about 18 kilometers, his first big victory in Kuurne, defending a gap of 10, 15 seconds on a chasing peloton. This is what he did in Milan-San Remo as well. Just defending a very marginal lead. But still 17 kilometers to go. The chasing group here with Sandy Dujardin. We have Florian Sénéchal. We have Alex Segaert and Arne Marit. Those are the riders now on the chase. We can just see Alex Segaert glancing over his shoulder to see where his leader is.
It's this moment in the race now for Segaert of, does he have to go back and wait for Arnaud Delis, or do you remain in that select group, which this has a possibility now to, if they have that good cooperation, to stay away. It has all the attributes and the recipe for a successful escape group. But for Segard, you know, for him, if De Lee is being distanced at this part, he's got his other teammates with Cedric Boulens who can try and help bring back De Lee if it does come back together. But leave one rider within the group for Lotto Destiny and give Segard that opportunity. As now you see a couple of the riders for Lotto Destiny up towards the front.
Yeah, but De Lee himself is a little bit further back.
A little bit further back.
Yeah, the man who just tried to get to the front was Arjen Levins. This is Cedric Boulens. Now, this is the way to eliminate Arnaud De Lee. This is the only way that you can avoid him unleashing the powerful dual pedals this time. Because, well, you know, he won a bike race on just on his left leg. Of course, everybody wants equal power output, 50-50, but yeah, you just continue on one leg because you do. But we go into that final race, and Lotto Destiny, they have got their work cut out right now to control this race. There is Arnaud De Lee. He still has got a few teammates here, but we must not forget, Hannah, that the team has already put an awful lot of work into this race, and if other teams have seen that, and of course their team directors have, they're just going to bombard the Lotto Destiny team with attacks right now and make sure you don't go to the line with Arnaud De Lee.
Make sure that you don't take him to the line and really put yourself on the front foot, and that's what other teams have been doing at this moment in time across UAE Team Emirates, Soudal Quickstep. As they go through the line, they hear the bell, but you know, make sure that he doesn't come back into the frame of things. But there's also other riders who want to be in that front group.
We're in the final lap of this year's edition of binche, a race that first was organized all the way back in 1910. 1910. That is a long time ago. But yeah, the modern reinvention of the race was in 2010 with Ilia Viviani. It's one of his first wins, actually, for Ilia Viviani. There we go, 16.2 kilometers left, and the teams are making life really hard for the Lotto Destiny team. And Hannah, isn't just incredible that a 21-year-old lad is putting in so much fear in the peloton already?
Well, it's kind of no surprise, is it? Because when you're a rider who has had 10 wins this season alone and has had such a successful last month with 3 victories, and the way in which he's able to win, Jose, even when a race has been really attritional, when it's been
like Canada,
incredibly demanding. Canada was a prime example of a rider who came from a way back, and on that finale, it's incredible. His ability and how he can dig so deep also, even though you're right into a deficit, you're right into the red. And now teams, they need to try and take advantage. Intermarché Circus Wanty, we've mentioned it before, but this is a big day for them with their sponsors being local. Of course, they are the sponsor of the race. It's really important for them to try and have a result. There's now see Vermeersch and
Bjerk
in the chase.
Yeah, and they're chasing Casper Pedersen. Here we have it for Soudal Quickstep. And Hugo Page, who was third in last year's race. And yeah, they really make Lotto Destiny work really hard. Number 41 is Arnaud De Lee. He's a little bit further back in this group, but you just have to try, because if you take him to the finish line, it's going to be really hard to beat him, especially on the punchy finale that we have here. And you said he won 3 times in the last few weeks, but the most impressive performance wasn't even a win. It was the way that he went up the Vomberg in the European Championships to try and get Wout van Aert into a winning position. If, and that's always an if he would have sprinted for himself, he could have won it. But of course, that's something that you agree upon before the race. And Arnaud De Lee, the power that he unleashed there in the final kilometre on the Vomberg, that was absolutely phenomenal. And that power is in the legs still. So you have to make sure that you avoid having to sprint against those legs. Silence before the storm as Riders, of course, are not allowed to take bottles anymore. We're exiting the town of Binche, making our way down to the south again on our local lap. We haven't really talked about the Israel Premier Tech team, briefly about Giacomo Nisolo. They're also here with Tom van Asbroek, a former winner of this race. That was 4 years ago, 2019. And they're doing some work there at the front of the peloton, or they were, trying to catch Pedersen and Page.
They've still got Derek G, who is in that, what now we could say, chasing group, this chasing peloton. So he's still there too for Israel Premier Tech. And of course, we know the fantastic season that the Canadian rider has achieved and has experienced this year. You can see a couple more riders from Israel Premier Tech a little bit further back. They're halfway through this peloton. And so at the moment, just sitting back and waiting.
Yeah, Moustache Man is having a little bit of trouble. Already did a lot of work. And we're back to the front with Page and Pedersen working well together, although I do get the impression that Pedersen is a little bit stronger than Hugo Page, but Page might also have instructions from the team car to not help, because there's a lot of riders of his team behind.
Yeah, but even when you see his body language there, Jose, for Page, Pedersen is really putting Page under a lot of pressure there, and you can see the rocking, rolling of the shoulders, and only one rider to try and protect the big Frenchman. They still have riders coming back. Here's another duo from Intermarché Circus Wanty, just trying to make their way further forward. Another 7 kilometers to go until they'll get to the really crucial part. And this is where they're traveling south on this long straight road before they'll get to that right-hand turn. Pedersen putting Page under a lot of pressure, and it's how much can Page give to Pedersen here. It doesn't really give him much respite, and
this is just a brief moment of recovery, and also the moment that he is in contact with the team car. We already have seen Yves Lampaert in action. We do know that Sénéchal is still in that group. I don't think that Jacobsen is still in that group anymore. Of course, he's not wearing that European jersey anymore. It will take a little bit of getting used to. That jersey is now on the shoulders of Christophe Laporte, who got a rather phenomenal bike to match as well. But there's still quite a few riders of Soudal Quick-Step here. He might actually be here. There's still 4 riders in that chasing group. Another rider who could do well on a finish like this is Ethan Vernon. But let's see if we find the man with number 2. Number 4 is Morkeuf. He might be hiding. Sprinters are really good at hiding, Hannah.
And that's the beauty of it, and that's why they are, in the end, so good. They can arrive to the finish with so much left in the tank, and I think that's also what they've learned and why they become such good sprinters, and those who are so successful and taste so much success is because they're completely anonymous during the race. They're able to hide themselves away, and very rarely, if not ever, they're putting their nose into the wind. They can hide their way, keep themselves well protected from any of the wind or having to push. They just follow the slipstream of the riders around them.
There he is, number 2, Fabio Jacobsen. He's still in this group, representing Soudal Quick-Step for the final time in his career, and he owes quite a lot to the team after that horrific crash. It was Patrick Lefevre who arranged straight away that the family could fly to Poland, and he's very grateful. Was always sure that he could stay on the team during his entire recovery. But now he's moving on to the DSM Firmenich team to be their top sprinter next year. Because the day for Dries de Bond wasn't hard enough just yet. Let's just go again. Why not? Followed by the riders of the Lotto Destiny team with Florian Vermeers and Arjen Livins. We also have Lidl Trek there with their rider Jasper Stuyven. Squinch is there, Teuns is there. Dries van Gestel trying to move up towards the front there for Total Energie. Final 10 kilometers. This is a tricky turn, especially since there's a hole on the inside of the turn there. Luckily, I'm going to knock on wood here, we haven't seen major crashes in the peloton just yet, and I hope we will be spared the crashes. Now it's up to Florian Vermeers to take control. We do see a lot of Lidl Trek there as well. Jasper Stuyven, of course, confident after that win in the gravel Euros.
And
but
I think
still
so
two leaders there.
I think so he should be, Jose, that he carries that confidence. A long time coming for another pro victory. And, well, at least on the road, let's say, for Jasper Stuyven. But now he's got with him Dan Höhler, Tom Squinch, Edward Teuns, all up towards the front. And earlier on, it was Quinn Simmons who did an awful lot of work for Lidl Trek.
Most definitely. Hugo Page and Casper Pedersen, the two P's at the front, two P's in a pod. But yeah, their gap is rather small as Florian Vermeers mightily leads the peloton. Yeah, at 5k from the line, we have one of two crucial points now in the final 9 kilometers. That is where we have that open stretch of road. But judging from the trees here on my screen, I think the wind has died down just a little bit compared to the women's race earlier this afternoon. Since the sun has come out, the wind has died down just a little bit, making it harder to make the difference on that stretch. But then we still have that final kilometre with the first part of cobbles, then that false flat on asphalt, and then the final sprint on the cobbles. But that is just absolutely tailor-made for Arnaud Delis. So take him with you to the finish line, and yeah, good luck with that. We've got 8.5 kilometers to go. Please stay with us, because after this race we immediately move on to Germany, to Jess Cox and Brian Smith from the Münsterland Giro, where the rain is coming down. Yeah, this is of course Mike Teunissen being unhappy with the camera bike just ahead of the peloton, and rightly so. But yeah, these guys, they are not that far behind the bike as well. This is something that we see all the time.
The gap is coming down, and it's coming down rapidly. We've gone from 12 seconds, now being told it's 6 seconds, and this is touch and go as to whether the duo could possibly stay away. And now they're on.
Yeah, there go the motorbikes.
Try and get past.
Yep. Yeah, they try to get into the slipstream. We've got one rider making it across. I think this is Total Energie because of the colour of the bike. Yeah, it is indeed Total Energie. Is this Dries van Gestel or maybe Dujardin? It's hard to see.
Edvald Bosenhagen.
How did he come back? How did he come back so fast?
Astonishing from Bosenhagen, because he's another rider who's gone through the middle a little bit in today's race. He suffered that mechanical on a really difficult part of the course. He's got himself right back into the thick of things, and another rider who we only caught a glimpse of that in fact he came back into the peloton on one occasion, and since then he's kept himself anonymous, and a good strong move here from Total Energie. And
that might also mean the end of the adventure of Pedersen and Page. You can hear the wind in the microphone. Normally there's a little cap there on the microphone on the motorbike. Sadly, not today, so we do apologise. We can't really change it. I do get some complaints on socials about it, but we can't change it, sadly. It just should have covered it a little bit more. And now we're back in the sheltered. We have a little bit better. Oh, this is a flat tyre for... Yeah, it's hard to see. It's Michael Bjerg. Ah, that is sad. A man who could be absolutely vital in the finale for the likes of Hodge and also Trentin. Yeah, with 6 kilometers to go, having a flat, that means the end of the race for him. Pedersen with 5, Page with double 5. Yeah, this is not great.
There's got to be I was going to say a fast change, but already you see the team cars coming through. This is going to have to be some miraculous chase.
Yeah, this is not going to happen. But what I was saying about the Münsterland Giro, after the finish, we move on to Germany for a rainy ride with the absolute top sprinters of the world in Germany. So please stay with us. There's more bike riding coming up for you here on Eurosport with Jez and with Brian. Pedersen and Page. Look at the facial expressions there on the face of the French rider of Intermarché. He's completely to pieces there, poor chap. Trying to take over. This is absolutely the last ounce of energy that he's left, and there is the peloton chasing. This is the moment that you have to try, and that is what Lidl Trek are going to do. This is Levins. He's done his job at the front of the peloton. But let's get back to the front, because if we exit this little patch of wood, that is where the wind is going to play havoc. And Lidl Trek are in position with Dan Hole, with I assume Tom Squinch, and also with Jasper Stuyven there. Here we go, Hannah. Is this going to make the difference? And how far back is Arnaud Delis? Because we saw at the European Championships, this is a place where you can actually hit him, because finding his position in the peloton is something that he still needs to work on a little bit. Look at how far back he is.
But even, you take a look now, we're still yet to see a rider from Lotto Destiny or indeed their protected man. There he is, a couple of bike lengths opening up, and right now he's isolated too. He doesn't have teammates around him to look after him, to protect him. Other teams are in a much stronger position. Okay, Samsic with several riders up there, likewise with Lidl Trek. Now we start to see a little coming together. William Gourmay a little bit further towards the front, and also Intermarché, where they've got several riders, but they're not together. They've got 5 riders in this peloton now. But Lidl Trek just putting it half road and only allowing space for their riders only to have some protection from the wind.
Day done there for Dries de Bond, part of our breakaway of the day. But let's go back to the front where all the action is happening here. Will Lidl Trek be able to create an echelon and eliminate Arnaud Delis? It doesn't seem to be happening just yet, despite the work here of Dan Hole. We also have Luca Mozzato there with the aero helmet of the Arkea Samsic team. Dries van Gestel moving to the front there for Total Energie. Still have Casper Asgreen there as well for Soudal Quickstep. But yeah, it's a long, long line. But in this group, somewhere a little bit further back, we still have Arnaud Delis.
It's not happening immediately, but what it takes here is the consistency for Dan Hole and Lidl Trek to continually put the pressure down. And there's still another kilometre of this exposed section of the course.
Look at the flag there.
If they keep you take a look at the flag and just how windy and how strong that crosswind is. But he's only allowing space for Stuyven and turns.
This is the only opportunity that you have, because Delis, he's way too far back right now. And we saw that the Euros, the positioning is still something that he needs to learn. This is only his second year in the professional peloton. And I think he needs a very experienced rider to stay by his side throughout the race and tell him where he needs to be. Because this happened to him also at the Europeans. Mikkel Bjerg after that mechanical. Oh, this is some effort there by the Dane. And Dan Hole back at the front with the Lidl Trek team. We're going towards that final 2 kilometre mark. And just keep the pace on. We have Søren Kragh Andersen there at the front as well for Alpecin de Koning. Mozzato in the red for Arkea Samsic. Van Gestel is still there. Matteo Trentin, Casper Asgreen. I wonder who the rider is for Intermarché. It might be Mike Teunis.
Big crash.
That is, I think it's Asgreen. No, Asgreen is still there. Ooh, this is a nasty one. Yves Lampaert is the man on the deck right there. What happened?
Not good news there for UAE Team Emirates. And that has caused a split. This is where the touch of wheels happened. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the rider of AG2R is miraculously escaping. And what's happening with the UAE guy? Yeah, Yves Lampaert. Is this Paleni?
This is
Chenets. Chenets, yeah. So we go back to the front because once we turn left here, we're into the final kilometre. Gianni Vermeers is moving to the front now as well, as Dan Holer is still putting the hammer down. This is the final kilometre. Now it's up to Lidl Trek with 85. It's Edvard Teuns in second position. Will it be his day? He was very close to things in recent races. Edvard Teuns moving to the front right now. We have Van Gestel still there. Mozzato is still there. Of the Alpecin de Koning team, I think it's Søren Kragh Andersen attacking here. Søren Kragh Andersen, Matteo Trentin still there. Edvard Teuns is trying everything that he has in his might. The Belgian rider of Lidl Trek. Is this Søren Kragh Andersen? Look at the pace for the rider from Denmark. But now this is the false flat. And we have seen in the women's race that you can bridge across here. And that is what Edvard Teuns is going to do here. He's bridging across to Søren Kragh Andersen. We also still have Dries van Gestel, Matteo Trentin and Luca Mozzato there. Is this finally going to be the day of Edvard Teuns? He's been so close to that win for quite some time. They have eliminated Arnaud de Lee, Søren Kragh Andersen, Edvard Teuns. It was Scott's birthday yesterday. Or is it going to be Mozzato in the end? It looks to be Mozzato all the way on the outside with a phenomenal sprint in the final 100 meters. And another top placing for Edvard Teuns, but not a win.
Quite the season for Luca Mozzato. Took his first pro victory this year and now takes a second in quite a similar type of finish where he won in the Tour de Limousin.
Yeah, what a sprint there by Luca Mozzato. That was absolutely stunning. Let's look at that one again. I thought that Edvard Teuns had it after being so close in the Vuelta on a couple of occasions. And he was like, yeah, it would have been nice. He's one of the part of the furniture, as they call it, at the Lidl Trek team. But Mozzato has got it. His teammate Nasser Bouhanni has announced retirement from pro racing. And this is Hofstetter. Yeah, it was not his day, for sure, with a crash and a bit short to tatters there. But a win for Arkea. Yeah, they signed quite a few big riders for next year with Florian Sénéchal and, of course, Arnaud Demar, who already was successful on Sunday and might actually pull away his triple in Paris Tours on Sunday. But Mozzato, yeah, a good season by him as well, Hannah. You said it.
A great season for him, and it was just after that win in Limousin where they announced that he'd signed for another 2 seasons. So for Mozzato, and in that finale, Jose, it's one in which he was able to just hold on to the rear wheel of Matteo Trentin. As we say goodbye, a penultimate race for Greg van Avermaet. But for Luca Mozzato, it's that long-laboured final kilometre, which it's hard to time. And when you take that right-hand turn and you're onto the plateau, you think, well, Søren Kragh Andersen has such a large advantage here and still so much more to give, but you're still able to come back, and so it always springs up a surprise. It always keeps riders in the frame.
And we saw that in the women's race as well. It happened exactly the same sprint in the women's race. If you haven't watched it, it's available on our digital channels. Yeah, look at that final sprint again, and look at how far back Mozzato actually is.
Yeah, he's following the wheel.
Yeah, you go ahead.
I was going to say, they're sitting here just behind Dries van Gestel and then Matteo Trentin. They have 2 riders for Arkea Samsic. But you see how much speed that Søren Kragh Andersen takes here, and he opens up with that huge acceleration, a big gap to Edvard Teuns, and you think, well, there's no way in this part that anyone will be able to come back. This is a done deal from either Søren Kragh Andersen or Edvard Teuns to go on and take the victory. But for Mozzato, following the wheels all the way.
Yeah, you have to be hugely confident that
Yeah, absolutely.
you time it right here. This is the final part on the cobbles with Kra Andersen and with Edvard Teuns still. And I thought, well, Edvard Teuns is going to have it. This is going to be the first victory of his year. And then a TGV, a train à grande vitesse, came along on the right side of the road. And Mozzato taking his second win of the season. Look at that.
And he takes the long line around Edvard Teuns too.
You have to be confident to do that one.
But look how much that it is. Such a painful finish. Disappointment for Teuns and also Søren Kragh Andersen.
Yeah, Hofstetter kind of signaling what the road of Mozzato through the peloton was. This is the result of binche. Luca Mozzato, Edvard Teuns, Søren Kragh Andersen on the podium. Trentin van Gestel, De Lie, Seneschal, Teunissen, Hofstetter and Arne Marit. I give you over to Jez and to Brian for the Münsterland Giro. Here we have the highlights of binche, 198.6 kilometers. And there were a lot of highlights, actually. We had a breakaway of 4 with Dries de Bond, Nick van der Leijken, Unai Cuadrado and Ryan Gibbons. Gibbons and de Bond, they were the last men standing of that breakaway of 2. And then there were attacks left, right and centre. Here with Casper Pedersen, with Hugo Page trying to stay clear of the peloton, led by Lotto Destiny, the team of Arnaud De Lie. Of course, they wanted the bunch grid. They want their sprinter at the front, but as we've seen in previous races, positioning is something that the lead needs to work on a little bit better. At the front, we find a rather impressive Lidl Trek train, and sadly a crash there by, amongst others, Yves Lampaert. And then we go into the final, onto the cobbles with the first sprint by Søren Kragh Andersen, quickly followed by Edvard Teuns. We have Matteo Trentin, Dries van Gestel, and Luca Mozzato. Arnaud De Lie is just a little bit further back, a little bit too far back to actually contest the sprint. Here he's starting his sprint in a group with Mike Teunis amongst others, but at that point it's too late. He should have been at the front a little bit more to be in this position. It seemed like it was Kragh Andersen versus Teuns, but then like a devil, it was all of a sudden Luca Mozzato. In Dutch we have the expression a devil out of a box. I think in English it's Jack out of the box. Because all of a sudden, he was there, Luca Mozzato. And now we are going to leave you for the Münsterland Giro. Enjoy that one. Crash here by Kevin Chinietz. He starts the off-season rather banged up there. Hopefully he's okay and can enjoy his holidays. Look at that, the old fortress of Binche in all its glory. A rather old city with a beautiful belfry that we don't have here. But it's here, I promise you, as we have our top 10 yet again. Quite an international affair. Italy, Belgium, Denmark, France, the Netherlands, all in the top 10, with an Italian winner for the binche, Chimay binche. And that happened for the last time in 2010, the last and only time in 2010, with Elia Viviani, when this race came back to honour Frank van der Broeke. After 14 years of absence, Van der Broeke, the last one to win in 1996. Going to watch that final kilometre again. Well, let's just enjoy it without commentary. Told you, it was a beautiful town, as you can see. And they've got good beer, Anna, if that's your thing. Are you a beer person?
I am. I am. I enjoy it. I do.
Yep.
I do.
Well, they
no
can
better
be
place in the world, let's say,
than Belgium. Yeah.
Yeah, Belgium, and I think sometimes the UK with its craft beers can give them a run for the money with the real ales.
Most definitely, and it's a lovely sunny day here in Binche, so there probably will be some beers enjoyed on the terraces right there. Listen to the interview of Mozzato.
Félicitations, la victoire dans un final stressant, c'était tout juste.
It was a stressful final.
Mais était plutôt toute la journée qu'il était stressant parce qu'avec
the entire day was stressful.
Tout le monde voulait être dans de bonnes positions pour éviter les
everybody
cassions,
wanted
pour
to be in a good
être
position.
sûr
There
d'être
were
dans les bons coups qu'il
peloton.
allait jusqu'à l'arrivée. À la fin, le peloton il n'a pas explosé comme je crois tout le monde pensait ce matin. Mais c'était quand même stressant aussi le circuit parce que tout le monde voulait être en position. Mais après, à la fin de ces journées, je suis vraiment heureux parce que
after this day, I'm really happy.
Donc, c'est spécial pour moi.
Because I have a win here, and that's of course
vous avez
very
été
special
très malin, hein, vous
for
avez
me.
entendu vraiment la dernière seconde pour sortir de la
You really waited until the final second.
J'étais obligé parce que je pouvais pas aller plus vite. Donc les derniers moments.
There was no other option. I couldn't go any faster.
Si j'avais des parties plus tôt, je n'avais pas les jambes pour les faire.
And if I would have attacked earlier, I just wouldn't have the legs to pull it off.
L'écart avec les premiers et les pas non, tu es un peu avantagé si tu arrives avec la vitesse de l'arrière. Donc, j'ai eu une bonne journée et aussi avec
I had a good day.
J'ai réussi à porter la victoire.
And I succeeded in taking away the victory.
Victoire de votre carrière.
Is it your best win?
Pour le moment, j'ai que deux, donc
at this moment I only have two.
Un peu tôt pour dire s'il va être la plus belle ou pas, parce que la première c'est toujours la première.
Of course, I don't know if it's the best one, but the first one is also very special.
Va rester dans ma tête pour longtemps.
But of course, this will stay with me.
Can you describe the final of the race and your emotion after the win?
Yeah, in the final there was an attack, and I did this race 2 years ago, and I arrived on the top of the last, not climb, but at the last K, two in the front, and all the guy arrived from behind. Today I was trying to wait a bit, and that was the right choice. At the end, I got also a lot of luck because in front of me I found two guys that didn't think too much to put the effort, and in this way I was able to do the effort at the right moment for cross the line as first. Thanks.
That was pretty cool by Luca Mozzato, fluent in French and fluent in English, and really explaining his feelings rather well in the final, saying that 2 years ago he learned from his mistakes, and this year he wanted to do it differently, and he succeeded in pulling off the win. These are some images from the carnival that makes Binche so famous. If you want to go there, well, you have to go at Carnival, which is in March. And well, if you're in March anyway in Belgium, there's quite a few big races on the calendar.
Only a few.
Just a handful. Even the Tour of Flanders next year is going to be in March. Everything's going to be extremely early. Roubaix is like the 5th of
Oui,
April
je
or
suis
something.
très déçu parce que.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed.
J'avais pensé quand je passe Krak
Yeah,
Andersen,
when I got past Krak Andersen, I thought I had it.
50 mètres de
But it was
l'arrivée, Mozzato a
50
passé
meters,
avec
Mozzato
beaucoup de vitesse
just passed avec a lot of
j'étais très
speed.
déçu. J'étais un peu
And
à
I'm very
bloc,
disappointed. I was a little
après
bit à
l'attaque
bloc
de Søren Krak Andersen,
after
mais
the attack by Andersen.
c'était un peu vent de face pour l'arrivée.
And we had a
J'ai
little bit of a
pensé
headwind
que
at the
quand
final.
je peux t'avoir dans le slipstream de Søren.
Yeah, I wanted to stay in the slipstream of Søren, and I was there and I passed him just in time, and I thought I had it.
C'est ce que j'ai fait, mais Mozzato a eu un peu
But
plus
Mozzato
de punch
just
dans les jambes.
had more of a punch today.
Je suis très déçu parce que l'équipe était
Yeah,
super
the team
fort et
has
ils
worked
ont eu
so well.
confiance en moi,
and they put all their faith in me,
j'ai moi-même.
and also the confidence in myself.
C'est un peu dommage d'être deuxième, mais c'est aussi
it's sad that I'm second.
C'est aussi comment dire, un exemple de mon bonne forme à ce moment.
Yeah, but it also shows that I still have the form at this moment.
Encore 2 courses semaine.
And I still have 2 races to go.
Très bien pour moi, je pense.
And there's still 2 races on my calendar that really suit me.
Aller jusqu'au bout de la saison et
I really want to go all the way until the final of the season.
Vous êtes déçus, mais des regrets, il n'y en a pas parce que quand on est à bloc et qu'on est dépassé, on ne sait rien faire.
Oui, c'est vrai.
Yeah, if you are on block, you can't do anything more, says the interviewer.
Un très long relais au final pour mettre
Dan Holer really pulled in such a long stint in the final, and then Jasper, and we were there in the first positions.
Début de la petite ascension en pavé.
And when we started the first climb and the cobbles, and when Andersen went, I was already at the limit.
Je sais que c'était vent de face pour la
but I knew it was a headwind.
M'a donné un peu de power dans les jambes pour rester là, mais c'était
a little bit left in the legs.
C'est un peu
but yeah, it's second place.
C'est la vie.
C'est la vie. That's life. Yeah, Edvard Toons, the 32-year-old, full confidence of the team, and Little Trek. Yeah, they were one of the most aggressive teams to date in the race, but they have to settle for second because the win goes to Mozzato, Toons in second, and Søren Kragh Andersen in third place.
So
and here is Søren Kragh Andersen
from the podium. It was close, but in the end, it's the third place.
Yeah, I have to accept that it was close, but not good enough. Yeah.
Do you have any regrets or not?
No, I have no regrets. Just needed a little bit more power in the legs in the end, so that's how it is. But I'm also very happy to be up there and to get a result. Yeah.
Can you describe your last kilometer and the tactic at this moment?
Yeah, today the team did a super good job. They protected me the whole day, and Gianni held me in a super good position into the cobblestones in the wheel of Trek. And from there it was just full gas, and I follow Trek and see what they were doing. And yeah, I was hoping for the moment that I could try to attack, and it came, and I did everything I had, and it was just not enough. Yeah.
Good, honest analysis from our podium. I'm going to wait for the podium. There will be beer, I promise you. And there is our city hall on the left. A little bit of refurb in the belfry. So, well, I did have the belfry for you, Hannah, but yeah, they wrapped it up. Sorry.
They've got an outline, a little, of course, all of the construction taking place.
It's online.
Yeah, Google.
Yeah, when things are calming down just a little bit, it's time to watch snooker. It's the English Open. It's so relaxing watching snooker. Wales versus England at the moment, live on our digital platforms for you to enjoy the English Open, including world champion Luca Bresa. I started watching snooker last year, or actually at the World Championships, and it's so relaxing, Hannah. I think if you are a snooker commentator, you just sit back in your chair, you put your feet on the desk, you might have just a beer by your side, although carbonated drinks and commentary, they don't go well together. Don't do that. And just like, sometimes like there's minutes that the commentators just don't say anything. It's like so relaxing. Maybe I can call,
isn't it?
yeah, maybe I can call the HQ if I can do some snooker commentary over the winter. But it's just great watching snooker because you just can, like, it's fun to predict, like, what's going to happen next. And when it does happen, you feel like a complete expert. Which, of course, I'm not. But it's just great to watch. There's little Scott. He just celebrated his 2nd birthday. He seems a little bit intimidated by the crowd. Second place there for Edward Jones. I love it how they gave him a cap already.
Fantastic, isn't it? And also so nice for him to have his little son here at the finish line too.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of these kids, they already have their push bikes and everything, and they're racing like their dad or their mum. Yeah, Scott is very unsure about the situation.
Taking it all in.
I remember, like, last year or earlier this year, we had the son of Dylan Groenewegen, Marlon, who was like completely breaking down on the podium, and he had to be handed back to mum because he couldn't cope. And you remember that one in the Tour of Flanders with Alexander Kristoff's son when the champagne popped? That he was like going really in a panic mode. So maybe we should bring dogs on the podium next. There's so many dogs at the peloton. Yeah, that would be cool. Dogs on the peloton. Well, Hannah, that was a lovely way to spend the afternoon. We'll go into hibernation for the winter, and I hope to see you again somewhere next year.
Let's hope so.
Let's share a beer.
Enjoy the off-season. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Thanks for that.
And a nice way for these riders going into the finale with a couple more races to come.
Yep.
But already capping it off a good season with a great result.